that's one of the things I try to explain to people, about all of us are gifted with something. God blessed everybody with some talents, and when you're operating in your God-given
Amen.
gift,
Amen.
that's what people are drawn to. As soon as Monica gets off stage, she's just a regular person. She's sick, she can be hurt, she can be this, she can be that. But when you're operating in your gift,
Amen.
nobody. There's been times I didn't had a headache, or my ex-wife done called and she cussing me out, and they going coming to the stage, and I'm like, oh my God, you got to do what you do, because
Right.
again, it's not even you being you, it's you operating in the gift that
In the
God has
gifting.
blessed
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
to do. And
Now,
a lot of times people don't even realize, man, anytime you are sent somewhere, man, these are assignments, man. Somebody in there needs you, and God needs you to do what you do for them. And so regardless of what you're going through, get the job done, and then you be sick when you go home. You know what I mean?
right.
So I love what I do. I love being able to have the opportunity to get my vat filled and then emptied and filled again. And so, I do have a lot of different projects coming up. I moved down to LA about a year ago, and so I moved down there to be a comedian, but now I'm a director. I've
Oh, amen.
film
Amen.
to a film festival. Thank you, brother. Just finished my second short, and I'm working on my third. So I'm doing commercials for people now too. So be on the lookout for HTH Films. It's called Healing Through Humor. It's a
Okay.
production company that I started. So God's doing some awesome things in my life. I'm just really excited, man.
Oh man, that's terrific, man. Congratulations, congratulations, bro. And I'm so glad to hear that, man. So you gonna be sound like, man, you what you telling me? You gonna be the next Will Smith, man?
Next, who?
Don't tell me you don't forgot Will Smith, man. Come on, man.
You said
Mr.
Will
Fourth of
Smith?
July.
Nah, I probably ain't gonna do nothing that's gonna have me question my character. But 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 I will say, I asked myself that question one time. I said, man, because he's had a great career. The
Yes.
guy's had a great career. And to be honest, I was looking in that rearview mirror in Jason's lyric when Jada Pinkett looked through that bag. That is the finest woman. Oh, man. So the brother got a good life, but integrity and my faith wouldn't allow me to do what people have alluded to for him to have the career that he's had. And I'm just gonna make my millions the hard way, and we're just gonna have
You talking about off
have it
screen?
happen like that.
You talking about
Um,
off screen?
you asked about that COVID and how it's affecting people, man. I'm a taxi driver, so I'm essential out in these streets, so I gotta still take people to and from. And when you're in my taxi, I'm your employee until you leave. I'm gonna be honest with
Okay.
you. I'm gonna do what you need me to do. Brother got in my car scared to death about this COVID, man. And this is what I'm explaining to people, man. Everything ain't killing your people, man. This brother got in my car with the little screen on his face, had a mask under the screen, had gloves on, and go get in my car and ask me why I ain't got a mask on. Like, you got enough protection for the both of us, don't you? Like, if COVID get passed in this car, nigga, that you have all matters, right? Like, but I couldn't say that because again, I'm his employee until he leaves. So I put a
Yeah.
mask
Okay.
on, make him feel comfortable. He go on to tell me, man, you got to be scared of this COVID. It's for real. My great grandma just died. I was like, man. And before I could get sentimental, my brain already hit me and said, did this nigga say great? Like, this wasn't a young man in the car. Like, your great grandma, he going to say his great grandma 107. I was like, nigga, your grandma ain't died from the COVID. Nigga, your grandma's tired of being here. Nigga, 107 Cleveland? Like, come on, dog. I mean, it's nostalgic at 99, at 100, maybe even 101. But at 107, you start looking at God like, what did I forget to do, Father? Tell me and I will do it. Like, you know what I'm saying? My great grandson about to die. I don't need to be watching this.
It wasn't COVID, huh?
He wasn't the go. I told that nigga, I said, man, your grandmama pulled her own plug when y'all wasn't watching. Y'all turned y'all in, wow, pulled her own plug and go.
Oh man.
I ain't gonna let
Ah,
these people scare me to death, man. I'm out here.
yeah, I feel you, man. I feel you. Look, I got some friends, man, who actually, well, I have friends who are on both ends of the spectrum. Some who don't take it serious. I'm not afraid of it, right? But I
Amen.
am, but I do respect it. I respect it, and I respect the fact that it can kill you. You know, but even if it don't kill you, what it puts you through, people don't take that serious enough, man. All of the pain and suffering that it puts you through. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking at both ends of the spectrum, man.
You know,
I'm
you
gonna
know,
respect it for what it is.
they had Scarface interviewed on the radio, and he was one of the only people like they actually was able to interview that actually had it and could tell you like what he was
Mm,
going through.
right.
And it was interesting to hear him speak on the radio and actually get to say, like, he was saying how tough it was. He was like man, it was like going through hell every day. And he said one day it was like God took the noose off.
Mm,
I said,
mm.
wow.
Wow.
It felt like God took the noose off, and he said it let me know that if God want to talk to me, he said, I forget how he said it, but he was like, when I need to holler at you, you need to come holler at me. And that let me know right there, like, you got it when you're a believer. I never let nobody cough in my face anyway. Ain't
Right.
nobody ever
Right.
sneeze in my
Right.
face anyway. If
Right.
you if you're African American, your mama beat the black off of you if you walk out that bathroom and she ain't hear no water running. So your mama believed in the COVID way back in the day. You know what I'm saying? So we good. You know what I'm saying? It's you have to be safe, obviously, but man, when you're a believer, these people can't fool you and the devil let itself be known by saying, "Oh, don't touch nobody." I knew right then. I said that's a trick of the enemy because you have a natural endorphin in your body that needs you to hug somebody for it to be released. That's God right there. So
Okay.
anytime there's something that come around and where they don't want you touching, that's of the
Uh huh.
devil, and I'm loving
Some,
on everybody.
something wrong with it. Something wrong with it. It's serious. It's serious. Yeah. Now let me ask you another question, man. As a comedian, how do you feel about what's going on in Minnesota?
Man, that is, it's actually tough to do what I do when stuff like that happens. You know what I mean? I mean, uh, injustice to me it hurts so bad because I'm from Minnesota.
Oh
One,
yeah, I didn't know that. Okay.
and yeah, from St. Paul, Minnesota, and
Okay.
growing up in Minnesota, there's so many white people. There were so many black people when I was growing up. My mom, you can ask my mom. She said to me, she don't know what type of woman I'm gonna marry because I'll bring anybody in the house. Prejudice isn't taught like that. I didn't learn prejudice until I moved to California. When I moved to California, I got called a nigger.
Hold that,
So
hold that, hold that. Let me tell you something. That is a really, really, really good point. We think that racism is really for southern states. Man, I have been to Ohio and Michigan, and I have dealt with some of the worst racism of my life, especially in Ohio, man. You talk about we know that the South was segregated. I'm gonna tell you, you go up north, it's segregated. They've had some of the worst riots in the history of this country in Ohio and in
I believe
Michigan. And then you come out to California. Now look, I remember some of the older guys telling me when we moved to California, this is what they would say. There's a difference between white people down south and white people in California. And here's what they said the difference was. The difference was that down south, you knew the white people that didn't like you and that were against you because they let you know that.
You
But
knew it.
I remember this older guy on my block. I think I was probably about 13 or 14. He said, "Here's the difference, Mike." He said, "A lot of these people will smile in your face, laugh with you, um, but try to go out with their daughter.
Hmm.
That's where you see what's really up." And I saw that kind of stuff happen. So racism is really just not a southern state thing, man. It's all over the country. So that was a very good point. Go ahead, man. I didn't mean. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, and actually, as you bring that up, I think in our part of in Minnesota, being the Midwest, it's more you just know where you can and can't go.
Mhm.
So growing up in Minnesota, we were over here. There were white people over there. There was black, but we didn't go over there. But there
Right.
was a over there, and if you went over there, I guess that's where you found out that there was racism. So it was probably there, but like you said, when it's ran by the Southern people, you just know where you can and can't go. You come to the West Coast and you walk by nigger, you're like, damn, it's heck. I mean, you don't even know where you can and can't go because they everywhere. You know what I mean? It ain't separated. You know what I
Well,
mean?
look,
And,
I
and I
tell you, man.
almost liked it
I
where
tell
you
my
just
kids,
kind of know
man.
where you can and can't go.
Yeah, I tell my kids. I've told my kids this. Never remember when I lived in Mobile, Alabama. I never remember seeing white people except for on television. That's the only time I saw white people. The school I went to, every student was black, and the school at that time was first grade through 12th grade. All students were black. All administrators, teachers, everybody was black. The grocery store was right down the street. Black people owned it. None but black people shopped there. My doctor was black. I never saw white people except for on television. And then I moved to California, and I'm the only black person in my class. Now, I talked about what the older gentleman said about how some white people looked at us and how couldn't be trusted. But one of the biggest fears I had in those younger days actually was being called an Uncle Tom because one of my best friends was white, and his family, man, I learned a lot from them, but they gave me nothing but love. So I think that's why I have the perspective to know that there are good and bad in all people. You know what I'm saying? All people, man. And so a lot of black people are not necessarily prejudiced, but all of their experience with white people coming up was negative. So that's why they're negative towards white people. So this stuff that you see going on now, it I don't think it's a fuse yet. But if this stuff is not dealt with properly, it can really be a fuse because I've heard other white people talk about, there's going to be another civil war. So what we have to do, and it goes to one of the things I said at the very beginning of the show. I believe that most of America is good. Most people in America have a good heart. But what happens a lot is people with good hearts are quiet. And there's going to come a time for everyone in their life where they're going to have to take a stand. And the outcome of certain things are going to depend on whether or not you quiet or whether or not you step up and speak up for justice, for righteousness. Um, that's going to happen to everybody at some point in their life. It's happened to me on a number of occasions, not just once. So I think it's going to happen with everybody, man. So look, bro, you a comedian, right? So you ain't got no problem being funny anytime. You know what
Anytime.
I am, brother? I'm a
What
preacher, so I can just talk. So I know I'm saying that to apologize again for cutting you off, cause I can
Oh
just
no,
talk,
no,
you
you're
know.
doing your thing, I'm getting ministered to. Hey man, let him use you. Let
That's
him
what I
use
do, man. And sometimes I can't help it. It just come out sometimes.
you. Yeah, no, it's very tough for you to look at it in other people's perspective because you have your own worldview.
Yes.
The way that I grew up and the way that police have dealt with me personally,
Mhm.
it's tough for me to be able to get behind a fuck the police because Ain't none of them been bad to me. But I do see what goes on with my people. Now I don't
Right.
know if it's always the way that we're addressing these people, or if it's just that it's just that is what was going to happen regardless. But that is the dichotomy that I see when I'm trying to get behind a lot of stuff. I want to get behind a lot of stuff, but at some point we have to be smart too, because again, rioting and doing this and that ain't doing as much as legislation.
Right.
Demonstration and legislation are two different things. You demonstrating your disdain, or your
Mhm.
bad blood isn't going
Right.
to do anything. You going to the legislative branch and you
Right.
actually letting
Right.
your voice being heard. Our dollars mean things in this country.
Yeah.
We have to
Yeah.
loot nothing. You can just not buy nothing. Walmart should not have even been open if black people were really wanting to do something. You know what I mean? I mean,
Right.
the Target ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like they want to do something, you do something to Walmart, and you don't gotta break nothing. You don't
Right.
spend your money there. You know what I
Right.
mean? I mean,
Right.
this is what my people don't recognize, and it's because of the media lying to us all the time about your votes and this and that. But your votes do matter, and they matter more than just every 4 years. They didn't trick us into thinking you're supposed to vote just uh, uh, for the executive
President.
branch. You
Yeah.
forgot about the judicial branch. We can vote for these judges that are letting these guys off. Every
Yeah.
2 years, judges have to go up for election. Get out there and vote.
Yeah.
Congress has to go up for election every 2 years. You can go out